Good afternoon, Coast Life. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. Can't believe it's almost Friday.
I know it.
Love it. We are your hosts. I'm Paige Marley.
I'm Leah Rizzo, and if you've never joined us before, Coast Life is where we take you around all the cool stuff to do, and especially now as sort of summer winds down, we're kind of heading into what we call local summer.
Love it.
With a lot of our restaurants and businesses and just a lot of cool things to do. So let us kind of be your guide.
That's right. We're ready for fall. If you can't tell, too, we're sporting the fall colors today, so I'm loving this.
Yeah, and it is Thursday, so if you are starting to make your weekend plans, don't forget I'm going to be judging the Sodell Wine, Food, and Music Festival at Nassau Valley Vineyards. That's coming up this Saturday, so you want to make plans to be there. It's going to be such a great time.
That's going to be such a blast. I'm so jealous of all the food and wine you're going to taste.
I know, but I mean, it does make me a little bit nervous because there's just so much. It's hard to pick favorites, so I'm going to do my best and enjoy the food.
No hard feelings. No hard feelings. It's all good feedback, good criticism.
Yes. But we also like to start the show by talking about things that are going on in the world.
Yeah.
And one thing that we wanted to talk about, that we've done this for a while, actually, both of us, but it looks like there's been an uptick in adults ordering off the kids menu in a way to save money when they go out to eat.
Yeah, I get this.
I get this too. I mean, times have been rough for trying to save money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think everybody's been in a position lately where that's what they are trying to do. But on the flip side, everybody likes to go out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one less meal that you have to cook at home. It's a social opportunity as well. It's great to catch up with friends. I've always been a kids menu orderer just because the portions are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want chicken tenders.
That's exactly right. There are some times when I'm at a sit-down restaurant specifically, and I'm like, wait, that sounds pretty good. And then it says, for 12 and under.
Yeah.
And you're like,
darn it.
I didn't want that.
Like, if I do this, could
Right.
I pass?
Hello. I do, though. I know we were talking about places like maybe quick pickups like Chipotle or something like that. I do often get the kids meal because it's a good size. I don't have a lot left over. You don't leave feeling too full. But now I kind of understand the money portion, because sometimes you're going to get a nice size meal. It's going to fill you up for $4 or $5 less. That is $4 or $5 you can put in your gas tank or what have you. So I kind of understand, especially if you're on hard times, your friends are going out, you want to join. I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. And I mean, I also see that sometimes there is that little bit of the pushback too from restaurants where there is an age limit. It is, 12 and under, which I understand maybe there could be exceptions in place for somebody that's like an extremely picky eater or like if it's a sensory issue and maybe like really the only things you eat are chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, those sorts of things. And you are joining a social group, like that's what you want to eat. Totally understand that. But I can also see putting in those barriers in place for the general public to say like, hey, we need to make money too. You can't keep ordering off the kids menu.
You know what else I do sometimes? And again, this is the same thing, to save money sometimes, but also just because the portion size is so much better. I often am one of those people that gets an appetizer as my meal.
Oh, I do that all the time.
All the time.
Mac and cheese bites, and I will order a whole thing of French fries, depending on where you go. Bethany Blues has really good French fries.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, and their chips are good.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry.
I know, we always are.
It's almost dinner time.
So let's change the topic,
Yes.
shall we? This is one that might get you really fired up. So it looks like more corporations, and I am hesitant to say that this is actually happening. I kind of get the feeling that this is a freedom fries situation where everybody said that was going to be the thing, and nobody's called them a freedom fry since.
Okay.
But it looks like offices are saying that the word feedback, you're already getting that eye roll, is too negative, and so they're starting to replace it with feed forward.
Okay. I'm going to say this as gently as I can. If you think feedback is too harsh, you have some self-reflection to do. It is not the word that's the problem. It might be you.
Yeah. And I also feel like this is a moment where, like, I feel like this is how participation trophies happened too. Where I remember in my early 20s, older generations would get so mad for you just existing, and they would be like, you guys and your participation trophies, and I was gonna be like, no, we didn't ask for those. Like, nothing made me feel worse than having to go up and accept a trophy I didn't earn.
Right.
So like, if this is coming from older generations just assuming that the younger generation is too sensitive for feedback, stop and take a minute and think about the damage you might do in not providing feedback, because feedback, critiques, I mean, I understand that even critique is something you don't want to hear. Air checks is something in our business. It's the same thing as like regular feedback. It's how you get better.
And this is going to be a harsh reality, because when you started saying the older generation might be talking to us, younger generation, but here's the issue. We might not be the younger generation anymore.
We're not. So, I mean, this might be us
it might be us kind of stuck in the middle where maybe the younger generation doesn't like the word feedback. I mean, we talk a lot because we're stuck in this Gen Z versus millennial versus whoever era. So maybe we just don't get it as much. But
the thing is, though, we're not Gen Z's parents.
No.
We're the generation behind them's parents, I think. Like, that's the millennial age. Like, maybe the older end of millennials might have some Gen Z kids in there, but I think generally speaking, millennials aren't parents of the current 20-somethings. They're the parents of the current, like, 10, 12-year-olds.
Yeah, not usually. Yeah, so that makes sense.
So I still think it might be, like, Gen X territory, older millennials that might be the ones. So it's hard to say like where that kind of stems from and where that feedback comes from.
In my opinion,
that feed forward comes from.
God, and I think feedback is almost nicer than critique. Like critique is like, hey, I'm going to give you something to work on. Maybe it hurts a little bit. Feedback is just kind of just like advice. So to even change it even more, I mean, we were talking earlier that schools are getting rid of Fs because failure's too hard, and so you get an E. You still failed. You still didn't do well, and that's okay.
And I think there's layers to that too. There's layers for lots of things when you hear blanket stories like this. So I also don't want to scare people with like, oh yes, feed forward is the new term, because I just don't think that's going to be true.
It's
like
not.
I
We're
really
not
truly
gonna
don't
be using that.
No, and I think that'll sort of fall under participation trophy and freedom fries category.
All that will be over here. We'll be over here. That's fine.
And changing topics again, I think, to something that's also sort of important that maybe a lot of people. I mean, maybe you think about it, maybe you don't. But what's something that men? I mean, we talk a lot about girly things on our show because women.
Hey, that's us.
But this one's for the guys. Guys, what is something that maybe you feel like you get judged for or shouldn't? And I think a lot of women can participate in this conversation too. Like, what are things out there that men get judged for that you wish they wouldn't?
I love men, first of all.
Yes.
I really do. I love men. And this, I don't know if this is going to be deep or not, but I think it's kind of funny. I'm going to find the humor in this. So I was talking to a guy friend of mine recently, and he was just going through some sad things. And when I'm going through sad things, I'm like, I'm sad right now, and I'm emotional, and whatever. He was like, it's okay, I'm just in my sad boy era. And I think that's so funny.
I do think calling things your era now is really fun.
That's
but yeah,
true
I think
too.
when men are judged for typically feminine things, I think that's what really the gist of that tends to be is like for being emotional, for not liking sports, for liking girly drinks. I mean, that's where we sort of see that dissonance there. And I think if we judged less on some of those feminine hobbies for guys, we could meet in the middle in a lot more places in our lives.
Totally, yeah. So yeah, definitely, I think it's just, that's such a common one, judging men for being emotional or having emotions. Stop that.
Everybody has
Relax.
emotions.
Yeah, everyone
Let
has
them out.
emotions. Right. It's not your sad boy era. You're just feeling sad, and that's okay.
Exactly.
You don't have to get out of that era. You can be sad. Well, don't be sad all the time, but
yes,
no one should be sad all the time.
But here's something you can be excited about. The show we've got planned for you. We've got a lot going on. We're going to check in with the greatest grandparent.
And we're spilling the tea. We have some juicy gossip you don't want to miss. All of that and more coming up when COASTLIFE is back.
COASTLIFE is brought to you by BB Healthcare, Coastal Comfort Heating and Air Conditioning, Preston Automotive Group, Shell Brothers, and the Parker Group.
If you were watching COASTLIFE a few weeks ago, you may remember we were celebrating Grandparents' Day, and our friends at Procino-Wells and Woodland were celebrating with an essay contest asking you to write an essay about the grandest grandparent and what makes them so great. Well, we have the winners in studio with us. Janice and Michael Riggs are joining us on the COASTLIFE couch. Hi guys, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So in order to be nominated for this contest, your grandkids wrote essays about you guys explaining what made you such great grandparents. Now, have you read the essays?
Yes.
Or are they touching?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tearjerkers.
Oh, that's sweet. So how many grandkids do you guys have?
We have 4 boys.
Yeah. So with the grandkids, how you've got 4. What are their ages? And tell me a little bit about them.
The oldest one is 19. He attends Morgan State University in Baltimore. I have a 16-year-old who's up and coming football player.
Nice.
We have one that's 13. He's our entertainment.
There's always
he's
one.
well, he's theatrical.
Yes.
He likes to perform.
Nice, lovely.
And then we have 10 years, and he's the boss.
So it sounds like it's a very close-knit and special group that you got there. So what are some of your favorite parts about being a grandparent? How is being a grandparent maybe different than being a parent?
we can send them back home. Being grandparents. They're boys, so they're very energetic. We're a bowling family, so they love to go bowling. So just to clarify, the 3 youngest one lives in North Carolina.
Okay.
And as you say, Gregory is in Baltimore, so when they come to us, we just try to have activities to engage them instead of playing video games.
Yes.
We try to engage them in family activities. So we play cards, and they love to play spades, and then they love to eat.
Yes.
So the first thing they say is, are we having a seafood brawl? So, and so we do that, and we do it as a family. So and they're just a joy because we don't get to see them often.
Yeah.
So they're just a joy of being around. So when we go and we do cruises with them, and it's just a lot of fun.
Tell me a little bit about how it felt to be announced as the winners for the Grandest Grandparent Contest.
Shocking.
Shocking. Why shocking?
You never think about somebody giving us that kind of an accolade,
Yeah.
especially from our grandkids.
Yeah.
But
Especially those teenage boy years where, you're not thinking that they're maybe as in touch with their sensitive side, but they are.
Absolutely.
And it
Yes.
shows. Was there anything in their essays that really stood out to you guys as something that either moved you or made you feel extra special?
Well, could I read an excerpt from one that Gregory wrote?
Yeah.
Which is really, to me, it was really phenomenal.
That's
This is,
that's
I'm sorry, you're right. This is Gregory. Okay, so he says, they've been there with me since birth. I have a special bond with my grandparents. I'm their first grandson. I was born with sickle cell anemia disease. My first episode, my grandfather saved me from dying that day because I was having a seizure. My grandfather, Pop, and I have been stuck together ever since. We hung out all the time when he came into town or if I went to Philly. We even sometimes match our clothes. Most people thought he was my dad. That's how I looked up to him. He shows me what a man's supposed to be in every area of my life. I better put my best foot forward and know how to act as well, military side of him. He helps me with school and life lessons I should know as a young man. He is a true meaning of a man of God, grandfather, father, and human being.
Wow. Oh my gosh, 19?
19.
That is so special,
So I
and
thought
that
that
is
was really-
so sweet. You guys must be proud.
we are.
Well, thank you guys for coming in today. Congratulations. You must be
Thank
proud.
you.
You've got some fine young gentlemen that are entering adulthood. So they're
Thank
going to
you.
make some good change in the world of that, I'm sure. Well, thanks for
you.
coming in.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
And stick around because there is more Coast Life coming your way. You're not going to want to miss it.
All right, well, summer is starting to wind down, but you probably spent a lot of time at the beach this summer.
Yes.
A lot, yep. And you probably saw, if you went to the beach in Lewis, a sign that looks like this. It says, "Welcome to Johnny Walker Beach." Previously was known as Beach 2.
Yeah, one of those seems like it has a lot more significance than the other.
It definitely does. So to explain the significance and the 2-year anniversary of Johnny Walker Beach, we have Bill Colick with us today. Thank you so much for being here, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we were talking a little bit before we got rolling. You are so knowledgeable about the history in Lewis, especially the African-American history there and the importance of Johnny Walker Beach. Could you just tell us, who was Johnny Walker?
Well, Johnny Walker was an individual who was tied tightly to the community. And then Johnny Walker had a restaurant on what is called sometimes Beach Number 2. And younger people were able to go there. Also, older people on Sundays at times had baptisms there, picnic lunches. And then Johnny Walker was so well known in our community and so well respected that parents would entrust their kids there with Johnny Walker, and certainly there were lifeguards, but it wasn't like Johnny Walker was down on the beach, but that was just a feeling that it was a well-run operation and Johnny Walker was overseeing it, and there was so much respect for him, and it was a great time to grow up and a great place to grow up.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
awesome. And I love hearing you and seeing you light up when you're
Yeah.
talking about all this history, but more importantly, community. And I think that's sort of when people say, you know, we want to go back to the time of community, it's that storytelling that I think warms people's hearts. So you guys just had your 2-year celebration of this being named Johnny Walker Beach. How was the celebration?
Wonderful. We attempt to grow it, if there's such a thing. We've been blessed with a individual who actually grew up in Lewis, with the exception of spending, I think, 4 or 5 years in the Navy, and he did a little time in Pennsylvania, where he met his wife and married, but by the name of Lewis C. Riley. And he has spoken the last 2 years, and he's we always say Walt Disney doesn't have anything on him. He's a tremendous storyteller, and he talks about things about the beach and Johnny Walker, and he's just quite special. So we've been very fortunate with that. There is a committee, and again, we're attempting to grow it. But when you talk about the history of Lewis, you can't talk about it, period. And well, some people say Black history, but when you talk about the history period of Lewis, it can't go on without talking about and knowing and finding out things about Johnny Walker.
Awesome. That is for sure. And can we dive a little bit deeper into the beach itself? Of course, Johnny Walker, who it was named after, but the importance of this beach. I mean, this was, you mentioned it earlier, a place where community came, but it was a place for the African American community to really gather.
In those settings, everybody was somebody, and you were important, and everyone felt at Johnny Walker's restaurant and on that beach that you belonged, you were important. We used to kind of laugh about it and say that as we grew older and learned about things like deeds with property, we always thought that maybe we all were on that deed at Johnny Walker's property there. But everybody was welcome, and it was a wonderful place to have a great time and grow up as a young person. We had an individual in Ellendale, because he lived in Ellendale, who gave us a picture of him. We kind of were scrambling for a bit for a picture of him, but found a great picture of him, and boy, it looks, it's just like him. It's like he was there. Like he would be here now. And it was a great picture, and so we want to grow it, and we are looking for people that might have known him. You know, certainly he was just an unbelievable community guy, well connected, and also he was involved in advocating for housing. He had a construction company too, and they built houses, and a lot of people got their first house as a result of being involved with Johnny Walker.
Hey, thank you for what you do and for keeping this history alive and these stories alive in Lewis.
Well, we thank you so much. You know, it's just, people talk about Black history, but it's American history. It's how this town prospered and grew up, and again, he was just a special individual, and we need to celebrate him.
You do. Well, good for you guys for keeping his memory alive.
Yes.
Very important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for sticking around. We have some more Coast Life heading your way, so we'll be right back.
You're watching Coast Life, and today I'm at Preston Automotive in Millsboro, Delaware, that not only sells great cars, but has events that the whole family can enjoy. Join me as I talk to the Doc and Scott about their upcoming annual car show. Attention car lovers of all ages. Preston Automotive in Millsboro celebrates their second annual Summer Send-Off Car Show. Last year, the car show displayed cars throughout the community, raising $14,000 in proceeds to benefit the pastoral care at Nemours Children's Hospital. This year, the car show has a twist, not only for the adults, but for the little ones to enjoy as well. A car show showcasing their very own Power Wheels.
So this was actually Doc's idea. The big car show out here is great for the grown-ups, but getting kids involved, he said, why don't we do a kids car show? I was like, what do you mean? So pedal cars, push cars, Power Wheels, anything like that, bring them out. It's free. The idea is for the kids to have fun and show off their cars and get together and interact. There's going to be trophies for the kids, and on top of that, I think we're getting little dash plaques for them too, so they'll get to bring something home.
And just like anyone else that's going to be in the car show for, the normal car show for the show cars, the kids want to take pride of their vehicles as well. So if we can show that off, you know, and kids say, hey, look at my car, you know, I think that'd be a great event for the community. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the kids. It's a community event in general, but at the same time, we want the kids to have a special part in this event.
Giving back to the community is Preston's mission, as this year's proceeds support the Good Old Boys Foundation.
Yeah, so the Good Old Boys is an excellent foundation. They're local to us, and they help out local families. One of their guiding principles that I really identify with is that every child deserves a chance. And what they do, families that are in need, they help those that can help themselves. But families that are in need, if they've got children battling illness, they help sponsor a lot of Christmases, and they do disaster cleanup. If a family has a fire and needs that help getting back on their feet.
Parents fear not, because there's something to keep all the kiddos entertained.
There's going to be a lot to do. We've got Parsons Farm bringing out the petting zoo this year. There's going to be some little goats and stuff like that. A lot more bounce houses this year and a huge touch a truck event. So for the kids, there's going to be a lot of stuff to keep them entertained for a good portion of the day.
For adults looking to show off their vehicle, registration is $20 and begins at 8 a.m. But be early, as spots fill up fast.
And when we mean by get here early, get here early. I mean, last year, I would say 30 minutes in, we were at full capacity. We actually had to find place for other show cars. So we definitely want you guys to show up early. And I know you guys like to take care of your cars, so we have plenty of real estate. We have a huge dealership here. But however, we want you guys to get here early.
Yeah, so registration is going to be day of. Get here early. We've got room for about 200 cars here. The first 200 cars registered will get dash plaques. We've got some great judges this year. We've got Barry Adkins coming out, and Greg, and a couple guys from our body shops will be judging. So everything's going to be fair. It's going to be based on show and shine.
They would also like to thank their sponsors for making this event possible.
Delaware Army National Guard, Millman Appliances, Weidman and Townsend, the attorneys at law, those are our big sponsors this year. On top of that, different businesses that have been making those donations have been a huge, huge help. Sunday, September 17th, please bring your family out. It's going to be a great time. Gates are open to the public at 10 a.m. We're going to have lots of food and beverages and treats. Rita's is going to be here for ice cream. But bring the family out, enjoy the event, and help us raise some funds for an awesome cause.
For a recap of last year's summer send-off with Preston Automotive, visit their YouTube and their Facebook.
For a recap, go on our YouTube, look for Summer Send-Off Community Car Show 2022. You get to see a recap of what we did last year, and also our Facebook page, second annual Summer Send-Off Community Car Show on Facebook as well. So there's a lot of our vendors that we post on there to give them, recognition, and also our sponsors are on there as well. And overall, any type of updates that we have from the car show is located on that Facebook page as well.
Check out Preston and Millsboro's Facebook to see local vendors or any event updates. There's more Coast Life on the way.
This segment of Coast Life was brought to you by Preston Automotive.
You're watching Coast Life, and we talked about it a little bit ago, but we're reminding you that it's Thursday.
Yes, which means it's time to spill the tea with our friends at Spice and Tea Exchange on Rehoboth Avenue in Rehoboth Beach. This is a fun segment for us. We love doing this because it's really where we get to gather around, pour the figurative tea, and of course the literal tea, because we love to hear the drama, you know?
Yeah, we feel better about our own lives when we hear about your drama.
Catharsis.
Exactly. All right, what are we drinking today?
What we're drinking today, since we are getting closer to fall, I mean, I hate to say that September is flying by, but it's flying by.
It is.
We have been waiting on this one. We have behaved ourselves waiting on this one, but we're drinking a pumpkin chai latte black tea.
Yeah, we are.
Yum! Notes of cinnamon, maple, and pumpkin, of course, in the black tea. So whether you drink it with milk, sweetener, or straight, it's going to be perfect when those mornings turn a little crispy, a little cool.
Which, according to First Alert meteorologist Bob Trihey, they are.
Yeah.
This weekend next.
Woo, I can't wait.
50s in the morning. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
So we'll get to spilling the literal tea,
Okay.
and then we'll get to our figurative tea as well.
Let's spill it. I cannot wait to try this. So this is about kids and sharing everything. This is a dad, a parent who wrote in with 3 kids.
Okay.
And his 2 daughters say, you make us share way too much, and the son doesn't have to share anything. So
All right,
is
so
it
let's
fair?
give this a taste, and then we'll
Yes.
dive into the tea.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
Cheers. Yeah. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Ooh.
I can't wait to celebrate the crispy mornings
Ooh.
with a cup of the pumpkin spice chai latte.
Imagine you're like on your porch, a little blanket,
I know. Ooh,
listening
cozy.
to the birds.
Or even, yeah, like, or I mean, I drink a lot of tea and caffeine at night because it just doesn't keep me up. I'm sorry, but like with
That's
the
okay.
bonfire.
Ooh. And I'm going to put cream in this one.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're off in dreamland.
Yes. Forgot we have a whole segment to do. We're not just sitting here
Spilling the tea.
drinking tea. Okay.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, you got it. So, like I said, Dad writes in. So his 2 daughters, I should say, 13 and 11. He has a son who's 8.
Okay.
So the 2 girls, they share a bedroom. They have for a long time because they think it just makes more sense. They're closer in age. They're both girls. The son gets his own room. But now that they're getting older, they have to share a lot of clothes. Okay, I remember doing this with my sisters.
Yep.
They share a lot of school supplies.
Yep.
Now the dad wants them to continue sharing their birthday. Their birthdays are really close together. So now the daughters are like, hey, the brother doesn't have to share anything. Fair, we have to share everything. But in the dad's mind, he's like, it's not my fault.
Well,
and it also
Kinda is.
it also saves money. It saves time. I go both ways on this, but what's your initial reaction?
so it's tricky because I mean, sort of, I grew up very similar situation, except my brother is the oldest, but my sister and I are middle, and I'm middle, she's youngest. And I shared a room basically my whole life. I mean, when she was a baby, she had the nursery, so like I shared a room briefly with my brother, and then when she was out of the crib, I shared a room with my sister. But we were literally best friends growing up. So like we've never been in any kind of serious sibling fight of any kind. We've always shared our stuff really, really well. So that's never been an issue. And I think even if it was, my parents would tell us to kind of suck it up. As far as the birthdays go, my brother and I are actually both January birthdays. And like growing up, I feel like we had separate birthdays. But as we got into our teen years, which like these guys are on the cusp of, we just started sharing. There was like one January day, and then each of us got to pick like half the dinner.
Yeah.
And by each of us, I mostly mean my brother. He got
I'm
his
with
choice
you on
in
that.
dinner, and I was like, eh.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I shared a room with my sister growing up as well, but here's the thing, I have 2 sisters. It just so happened me and my younger sister would share everything. We also shared a lot more clothes.
Yeah.
And I think it also was just one of those things where we were never forced to share birthdays. That was our own thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a compromise this dad can do.
Yep.
Keep the birthdays separate, but I mean, I'm kind of glad my parents forced us to share rooms and things
too.
because it's just one of those things where life isn't always fair. One of the siblings is going to get their own room.
Yep.
What are you going to do? Buy a whole new house? No.
Right.
So I think compromise with your kids.
Yeah,
We're not
I like
parents,
that idea of
but-
maybe letting the birthdays be separate, at least for now. Maybe
Yeah.
as they get into their older teenage years, like when you got 15 and 18.
And they might want to, as you. That's the one thing too with girls. If you are a first-time girl dad, girls are going to get closer as they get older.
True.
Don't force it in their young years. So
True. So
Yeah.
find a little compromise.
Yeah.
I think that's what we have to say. But you can always chime in on our socials too.
yes, there's definitely one in there. And don't forget to email us, team@coastlife.com, with your drama, and we'll spill it.
Yes, and don't forget to get yourself some delicious tea or fun tea accessories if you've already decked your cabinet out with tea from the Spice and Tea Exchange on Rehoboth Avenue and Rehoboth Beach. Don't go anywhere though, because we do have some more Coast Life coming your way.
Spill the Tea was brought to you by the Spice and Tea Exchange of Rehoboth.
You're watching Coast Life, and September 16th through the 23rd is a very special week. How about National Estuaries Week? And I have someone to tell us about this special week because before I got here, I had no clue, so I know a lot of people are kind of iffy right now. So Liz Witz is the education coordinator from Maryland Coastal Bays program. So tell us a little bit about National Estuaries Week and the free cruise you guys have going on.
So National Estuaries Week is a time to celebrate these beautiful things right behind me. Estuaries are an area where freshwater coming down from creeks and rivers and ditches kind of meet our saltwater from our ocean. And it creates this absolutely pristine, beautiful environment that we call estuaries. And I have the privilege of working for the Maryland Coastal Bays program. And the Maryland Coastal Bays program is we strive constantly to enhance the ecological values and everything that the bays behind me offer. And we do that through restoration and education and monitoring and outreach.
The program's goal is to work toward the restoration and protection of estuaries and is one of the 28 national estuary programs across the country.
So estuaries themselves provide this very, very unique habitat. We call them a nursery ground. So just like you think of like a human nursery, like for babies, that's what it does here for our young. And it's a nursery ground for a lot of different animals, whether it's crabs, whether it's different fish species that end up being pretty economically important, then go kind of back out when they're larger and are kind of that open water kind of fish that are fished for. Our habitats also provide a lot for us as humans. There's a lot of recreation opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities for people for their livelihoods, whether they're fishermen or women.
While estuaries are a habitat for many animals, these bodies of water also work as a natural filter, using plants to eliminate unneeded substances within our water.
It also filters water. So as our water's kind of coming down off of our land, there's a lot of different plants. As it goes through the soil, it ends up getting filtered and a lot of nutrients can be uptaken. When the water itself hits our bays system, there's a lot of opportunity for it to get cleaned. So a lot of our different animals, specifically like our shellfish, so let's say our oysters and our clams and our mussels, provide a really good, unique adaptation. They filter water and they take a lot of the bad stuff out of the water, and then they kind of push the clean water back into the bag. But a lot of our underwater plants will do that same thing too. So a lot of our vegetation that we do have, it also helps to kind of clean the water and uptake a lot of this excess nutrients that we don't necessarily want.
Estuaries provide a home for wildlife and numerous opportunities for humans. To protect estuaries, we can give back by following a few easy steps.
This is the place that we live, so we can all have an impact. In everyday life, I think it's just being a little bit more conscious with our choices that we can have. Making sure we clean up after ourselves. Littering, you always hear that, but that can have a big impact in our bays when different amounts of trash get in here. A big one, especially for homeowners, can be how they care for their lawn and the type of plants that they do put in the lawn themselves. And then also just kind of investing, educating themselves. You know, you don't have to necessarily live on the water to have a stake within our watershed. Our watershed includes the land too. So just kind of increasing knowledge, getting out, experiencing the different environments, that kind of builds up this like sense of place. And then from there, you kind of want to be a steward of the environment anyway and take care of it.
Alongside these estuaries are marshes that act as buffers to mainlands, providing shelter and protection against flooding. Carly Tulin, an environmental scientist for the program, expresses the significance of these wetlands to coastal bays.
Wetlands provide a lot of ecosystem services to our coastal bays. One of the most important things is that they act as a buffer to our mainland. So if you are like living right on the shoreline and you have some marsh in front of your property, if there's a big storm event that comes in or if there's a lot of wave energy, that marsh protects your home and the communities behind it by decreasing that wave energy and storm energy. So they act as a buffer and prevent flooding for a lot of areas, which is a huge issue in the coastal bays. Another service that they provide is they act as a filter.
Maryland Coastal Bays program combines fun and learning with their free cruise to celebrate a weekend dedicated to estuaries.
So this event next week that we're holding something next Monday on September 18th, and it's a free bay boat ride. We're doing it in the later afternoon, ideally, so that way people who are working during the day, they might be able to come, that kids can come too. But it's a free one. We're doing it on the Assateague Adventure. We're leaving from Talbot Street in Ocean City. We're going to be able to take out about 60 to 65 community members for free to kind of show them this special place that we live.
To gain more knowledge of how to protect our local wildlife and coastal bays, the program has several events and volunteer opportunities on its website to get involved. There's more Coast Life on the way.
Puzzles and Lewis Gourmet. As soon as you walk into this store, you already know it. It's not just a store that sells some brain teasers and some great snacks. It's a place that brings families together and creates new traditions. Maybe you find them nostalgic. Maybe it's a well-welcomed challenge. Or it's just something peaceful for you to pass the time. No matter what kind of puzzles or brain teasers you're into, Puzzles in Lewis
definitely has something for you.
Something that really gives us a lot of satisfaction is when somebody who maybe hasn't been into the store before, when they venture inside, sometimes if you're standing near the cash registers, you look over and they will stop as soon as they come in and their jaw will momentarily drop. And you hear all sorts of comments like, wow, I've never seen this many puzzles before, never seen a store like this before, which is fantastic. I think it's nice to take people a little bit by surprise. We pride ourselves on having a really, really broad selection, not just of jigsaws, but also of brain teasers, what I call thinking games behind me here, games which are engineered to foster use of the brain to develop problem-solving skills and logic skills, etc., for kids and adults alike. And also, fourthly, books. So crosswords, sudokus, word searches, things of that ilk.
With shelves like these, sometimes you don't know exactly what you need until you get in and start some shopping.
I mean, the age span is huge, and we have products for very, very young, starting from just a couple of months, very, very simple little puzzles and ways of occupying the brain and already fostering some development there. But equally, we have through to the world's most complex puzzles, some of the largest puzzles, and equally a lot of novelty type puzzles, things that people don't expect. I mean, crazy things like puzzles with no outside edge, where the outside edge looks like it's actually part of the inside, but it is, surprise, surprise, the outside. And puzzles with 5 extra pieces thrown in, which don't fit anywhere, and which some people would say is cruel, and other people would say is a very nice, healthy challenge. But the sorts of people that we get coming in vary so hugely. People who've been living in Lewis for years, who've been doing puzzles for years. Equally, we get families coming through in the summertime with their young kids, and maybe the adults have been to Lewis over the years themselves, and they want to reintroduce some of the traditions which they hold very dear to their hearts and close to their hearts with their own kids. And doing something like a simple puzzle in the evening during a summer vacation day is quintessential. It's what it's all about to them, to carry on the goodness of simple but very wholesome memories together on vacation.
Under the same roof, Lewis Gourmet has gifts, home goods, and snacks like you wouldn't believe. Some may look familiar, others you've probably never seen before.
Come in here, you'll have an experience of both food that's international, food that's local, and then tabletop and kitchen items.
Nods to the late Queen and kitchen gadgets you didn't know you needed, satisfying your cravings, all while doing some good. Andrea is intentional with what she brings into that store, striving to be as environmentally conscious as possible.
So if I can get something in glass, I'll get it in glass instead of plastic. I'm thoughtful about what things are made out of and to give people options.
That's not all. They're currently in the process of becoming certified B Corp, which stands for Benefit Corp.
It's an international vetting process, and there are people that examine how you treat your employees, how you treat your customers, the types of items that you're sourcing, what you do to benefit the public, and what you do to benefit the environment. So it's a real 360 look at how you conduct business. We will, to my knowledge, be the first people in Sussex County to have this designation. And we just like the fact that it holds us accountable and gives us further goals to strive for, because we can always do better.
Tying together local and international foods and cultures, just like Andrea and Tim. Their journey to Lewis from England is unique. They first came to Lewis years ago after doing a house exchange, and like so many others, they fell in love with Lewis.
Fell in love with the town itself, the history, the community, the personalities that we first met in our first few tentative days here. Just the friendliness, the openness, the helpfulness, but equally the natural beauty here, the focus on wanting to do the right thing, not just oneself, but for those around us, and this ultimate sense of community was just incredibly striking.
Little did they know what they thought would be a small trip would become their place of business and their new home across the pond. Now they are continuing to share their love of country, love of bonding over games, and love for trying new things with the rest of Delmarva.
And you know, I was telling Tim and Andrea, this is where my mom and I come when she visits. We go in there, grab a puzzle, grab a snack for a really fun family tradition. So start your family traditions or with your friends here at Puzzles and Lewis Gourmet. Right now though, just stay where you are. More Coast Life's heading your way. Okay, Coast Life, before we let you go, we're helping you plan your weekend because it's Thursday.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this weekend. Like I said earlier in the show, I'm going to be out at the Sodell Food, Wine, and Music Festival. All those things are going to be there at Nassau Valley Vineyards in Lewis, and that's going to be really fun.
It's going to be so fun. What else is going to be really fun with great food is Festival Hispano. That is on Sunday. A bunch of us too are going to be there. It's going to be such a blast, and if you haven't been, it's in Georgetown. The food is just
And if we're sort of making future weekend plans, coming up towards the end of the month, the Shore Living Expo, the Draper Media Shore Living Expo. So a lot of us are going to be out there from WRDE. Also, our friends from Delmarva Life are going to be there. It's going to be a really big event. Lots of vendors, lots of cool stuff to do, a little bit of shopping and stay informed on all things going on in the area. That's happening at the Convention Center in Ocean City at the end of the month.
Yep, that's September 30th.
Yes.
Yes. So we threw a lot of dates at you, but just, don't forget, this weekend we'll remind you of Shore Living Expo as well coming up, but just keep watching Coast Life. We'll remind you of all these dates and times.
That's right.
That's right. So we'll be back tomorrow, 4 o'clock for your Friday, but for